Hello, my friend. Welcome to Do Not Talk, talking about two things you're never supposed to talk about: politics and religion, and talking about the things that everybody ignores or just goes, I'm not worried about that. That's not my lane. That's not in my wheelhouse. Oh, the Lord hasn't put that on my heart. Whatever it is. So I just keep bringing to you the people that you just don't see in mainstream media and nobody talks to. And I don't understand why, because I think they're doing extraordinary work. Like my guest today, Sheila Matthews. She's been on the show before. And we're going to be talking about her organization, Able Child, ablechild.org, ablechild.org. And there's an event coming up. As a matter of fact, the end of this month, March, I think 31st, in Georgia. So if you happen to be anywhere near there on the East Coast, you're going to want to attend this event because it sounds really cool. Let her tell you about it, though. But a couple of things I want to ask you to do for me. One is to go to my website and buy some of my merchandise, please. You'll be helping this show stay on the air. And frankly, the gifting, people used to contribute when I'd ask them to. Even $20. Somebody did an anonymous donation of $100, but that's been like a month and a half, 2 months ago now, and that's been it. So if you go to my website, CharLeeSimons.com, you can get that mug, you can get this hat. I love this hat. Trump was right about everything. Don't be scared. You can wear it. Don't be scared. And if you don't want to go that controversial, there's other things in there too, but you won't know unless you go, CharLeeSimons.com. So at least you'll get something out of it. And you'll be contributing to the show, too. Or there's also ways if you just want to give. At CharLeeSimons.com, CharLeeSimons.com. This is my ministry for the Lord. I thank God for it all the time. I thank God for you, for liking, following this channel here at rumble.com/do not talk. Click that follow button. If you don't have a Rumble account yet, you're going to need one to be able to comment and participate and share. Well, you can share these shows and watch these shows whether you're a member of Rumble or not. It's just like YouTube, only friendlier to conservatives. I haven't been deleted or doxxed or have any shows deleted by Rumble. I've had a whole lot deleted by YouTube. In fact, I have 2 strikes against me now. One more. They're pulling the whole channel with all. And I've been with them from the beginning. YouTube did that too this past summer. I didn't mean YouTube. I meant Facebook. Deleted all my pages and Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, every one of them. It hurt. I don't have any way of 40,000 people, boom, suddenly I'm gone. I don't have any way of letting them know when I have new shows on. So that's why I'm asking you to follow this channel. If you're watching on Rumble or wherever you are, actually subscribe on YouTube or follow on Rumble or whatever you can do to get involved and help and share these shows so people like Sheila Matthews and her message get out there.
A dilemma united these two moms. Patricia Weathers and Sheila Matthews say elementary school staff pressured them to medicate their young sons for attention disorders.
The school principal actually told me, your son isn't focused, he's not on task, and this is like a continual problem. She goes, counseling is too slow a process, and you need to put your child on medication.
You fought it, though, in the beginning.
Something inside of me told me that was not what I wanted to do.
Right.
And I had everybody telling me, oh, it's safe, it's going to help him focus. You think that here are experts. Maybe these people know more than me.
Patricia gave her 7-year-old son various drugs for more than 2 years.
He was up and down. He became psychotic.
What do you mean?
He literally attacked me, physically hitting me. He went to school and he was banging his head against the desk. When he was asked to take a test, he ate the test. And I said, this is not my son. I'm pulling my son off these drugs.
You, Sheila, had a similar situation?
My son, too, he was 7. At the time, I started getting calls. He was calling out, getting up out of his seat. And then I was told by the school psychologist that I should really consider putting him on psychiatric drugs. I was like, this is so not what I want.
Sheila then saw Patricia on TV during one of the times she testified before Congress about medicating children labeled with ADD or ADHD.
Because our children are suffering and
I called her up and I was like, help me. And she was like, my suggestion is that you research the drugs, and my suggestion is you don't do it. And I went to the school and I said, I am not putting my son on these drugs. This is so wrong. And we're going to tell other moms about this.
In 2001, the women became activists, forming the nonprofit Able Child, which educates parents and lawmakers. After Patricia found out that her son had anemia, hypoglycemia, and allergies, she changed his diet, and his attention problems improved. Sheila focused on how her son communicated. By working on his speech and language, his disruptive behavior stopped.
Parents aren't being told that there are other solutions that you can do with a child, because the medication and drugs are like the quick fix.
Steve Perry, Millbrook, New York.
Let's get her into the mix right now and find out more about ablechild.org on Do Not Talk. Ready? Hit it.
Yeah! Woo!
Hi, thank you so much for having me on again. It's a
Hey,
pleasure.
thanks for being had again. It's my favorite joke. So let's right out of the gate talk about your discoveries on children, labeled hyper children in schools that now have the power. I don't know about in the state where you live, or I can't speak for anywhere else, but in California, these frickin' school nurses can prescribe Ritalin and other such horrible drugs for children without even getting parents' approval, so that they can control these out of control kids, in their estimation, out of control, while they're at school. Is that happening where you are too?
Yes, it's happening throughout the country. It's basically a lack of informed consent. And basically, you send your kid off to school and they do these checklists. And based on this checklist, they say, oh, your child has ADHD, which is a made-up disorder by the psychiatric industry and the drug companies. You know, they got together and they took these traits of these children. And I got into it. You know, I have two boys. And when my son was 7.
Mostly boys. I was going to say it's mostly boys they do this to.
Yeah. And so basically, when it happened to my son at 7, I didn't know anything about it. And God put this woman in front of me, and I was getting ready for my meeting, and I turned on C-SPAN, and there was a federal hearing. And she was saying how she put her son on Paxil and he ended up attacking her, and she no longer recognized her son. And so then we joined forces. I called her and she was like, Sheila, don't do it. You know, look, it's not real. And I thought, you know, everything they were giving me was like, oh, if you don't medicate your son, he's going to self-medicate. You know, he's going to end up in prison. I mean, really scary stuff, you know. And what works is a combination
He has
of
behavioral problems. He's disruptive in class because he has energy.
Exactly. And then they were giving me pamphlets on drugs, and they were like, oh, if this drug doesn't work, try this drug. And I'm like, my son is 7 and I just didn't want to do it. So that launched our friendship and our 25 years. We just celebrated our organization, the 501(c)(3). And just like you, I was listening to your intro, you know, about donations, and people should really give to you because you're vital. You're vital for organizations like mine that really are turned down by big tech. You know, we've been labeled by big tech as derogatory and dangerous.
Really?
Can you imagine? Yes. So big tech, Google thinks that we're a dangerous organization because we're educating the public on the false labels of psychiatric drugs and the dangers of the drugs. You know, so you know, we get I write our organization. What we do with our money is we write articles on different topics that directly affect parents and human rights regarding these drugs. And so we submit them to joehoff.com, and then they go on the Gateway Pundit. And
Joe Hoff, Gateway Pundit, one of my heroes.
He's so great. He's so great. So he runs this article for me, and he gets monetized. Like, he advertises, he uses my content, which I'm so grateful for. And then in turn, we get donations. People like what we write. So it's a really nice partnership, you know? So he calls me one morning and says to me, Sheila, you know, I have to tell you, Google basically said able child's dangerous and derogatory, and they're not going to allow us to run your piece and get advertising dollars on it. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like you're in high school and this big bad bully is like, oh, we don't like her. You know, they never contacted me. They never said, you know, your information is incorrect or anything. They just slammed him and basically said that we were dangerous. And I find that very hard to believe. I think they're dangerous. And so I'm grateful for your podcast and your courage. And so, you know, we've been doing this for about 25 years. We've been recent guests on for the last 2 years. The War Room and Steve Bannon has been really very supportive of our organization. And he, yes, he's magnificent. I have to tell you, he's so smart. And he really has latched on to our mission because it's saving children. You know, it's saving the undeveloped heroes. Before they get a chance to be heroes in the United States, they're drugged, incarcerated most of the time because they become addicts. These drugs are very addicting, and the government has completely endorsed it. So we don't take any money from the government. So it gives us a little bit more a bold approach to the government. And so, you know, we're out there. We're writing. We write at least 4 articles a month. They appear on the Gateway Pundit, and they're all about these mass shootings and how the government is withholding the documents. So that's what we really focus on a lot, you know, and how these kids are on cocktails of drugs. And then we work a little bit on legislation because we are a nonprofit. We can't endorse candidates, nor do I want to, because I think they're both a little, you know, both parties. And it gives me the opportunity to really focus on human rights. So we like to work with everyone. We have our favorites, of course, that are kind to us. And then we have our not so favorite people that we're just praying for.
There you go. Well, let me tell you my story. I was one of those kids labeled hyperactive and attention deficit before there was such a term. Every report card was Charles could have straight A's if only he would apply himself. I was always being sent to the principal's office. I was always in trouble. I was disruptive. I was loud. I was hyper. I wasn't. So much had to do with diet too. You know, I mean, everybody who's feeding their kids sugary cereals every morning then can't understand why they have behavioral problems. Come on, start looking at your own. What are you feeding your child? Because it's easy. That's all it is. Just downright laziness, I think. People trust the labeling. Well, the Captain Crunch has 7 different vitamins added, sprayed on. What are those vitamins? Made out of chemicals. Thank God for Robert Kennedy Jr., what he's doing with Children's Health Defense. Thank God for him.
Agreed.
He's making changes and inroads into what they're feeding in school lunch programs and so on and so forth. Well, I was one of those kids. They wanted to medicate. They wanted to eradicate. And then they came up with this when after my parents divorced when I was 9, and we moved when I was 10. And the new school I went to had this mentally gifted mind program. They called it MGM. And my mom enrolled me in that. And I thrived. I wasn't hyper because I was a bad kid. I was hyper because I was bored out of my mind. I was already reading high school level when I was third, fourth grade. I was bored. So this MGM program, I just thrived, and it changed my life. And then about the time I got out of high school, things were so much better, and was able to go to college and so on. But that program went away because it was discriminatory. They were spending extra money to help develop these children who were mentally gifted. I have an above average IQ. I found out when I was in that program and they did the IQ test and everything, they found out exactly where I was. It went away because it was discriminatory. And people on the left were literally calling programs like that racist. Well, they should have told that to the two Latinos and Latino and Latina who were in that mentally gifted program with me, that it was discriminatory against them. But it went away. They stopped doing that and encouraging kids to actually do better and be better who might be a little bit more advanced. And they've done everything they can to dumb down the education system to such a point now in California. In almost every category, our public educated children are in last frickin' place in the nation. Last place with reading and comprehension and mathematics and everything else. They're leaving high school unable to read and write. And they're calling that a victory. Some clown group actually gave our Governor Hairdo, Gavin Newsom, some kind of an award. He flew to Washington, D.C. and had all kinds of photo ops because he got some award for having a great education program in California. What?
It's terrible.
It's crazy, Sheila. It's crazy. Do they have any program like that that you know of for mentally gifted minds?
Well, that is really interesting that you say that, because we've done a deep dive on the funding, and no, they do have gifted programs, but the ADHD label has taken over the gifted. So basically, they have repackaged this gifted child as disordered and diseased. And President Eisenhower, who we named our organization after his vision for children after Sputnik went up and we were lagging behind, he wanted to create, help the gifted able child. So he flooded these grants, and what they did was they converted these grants over to mental health in the early 1970s. And I've done research over the last 25 years into pinpointing exactly where it happened, in what hearing it happens. And that's really what our organization is trying to educate the public on, is that your child is not ADHD. Your child could be gifted and talented, and they've stolen your child's identity. They've stolen the money. And now we're in a point where 1 in 4 children are on a psychiatric drug. And so now they're just drugging everybody. And so, but the most important work that Able Child's doing in our upcoming events in Atlanta, in Georgia at the Capitol, is about the conversion of this child. It's like we found this treasure of information about the gifted child that was the ADHD checklist mirrors that of the gifted checklist. So they took the traits of boys like you and they converted it to mental illness, because that's where the money flew and that's where these grants were converted. And so the gifted programs are very weak. In Mondavi in New York City just canceled the early gifted program. in New York on, oh, we shouldn't point out children that are gifted. Like you were saying, it's discriminatory. And then they push this mental illness on us and say there's stigma behind it. And the stigma is the pharmaceutical marketing campaign.
There it is.
So, you know, so they're like, oh, there's all this stigma. And so it's a campaign to get you to label your child mentally ill. And we have really a lot of support from children that are actually really impaired, like the Down syndrome children or, you know, palsy children that really need the money for life care, and they've poisoned the entire environment. So everybody is mentally ill. Everybody's handicapped. And you see that in what's happening in Minnesota with all the fraud. They haven't even gotten to the drugs that are involved in this fraud. They've only knocked on the shops to see that there's no shop there, but they haven't dug into the Medicaid numbers in which these kids are on multiple cocktails of psychiatric drugs we're paying for. So our exhibit in Georgia is really focused on educating the public how you should be proud to say, when somebody says my child's ADHD, you should say, no, my child's gifted. And I have the proof. I'm a member of Able Child. I know my child's history. I know the laws that protect me. And we don't charge anything to be a member of Able Child. We give you your history back. We have dug over the last 25 years to find the fraud and corruption. And we have dug out and we found this jewel. And what this jewel is your child is gifted. And your child does not have to go on psychiatric drugs in order to receive an education, you know. So our exhibit is, you can't really see it, but behind us is a beautiful boy like yourself when you were young, and Arthur, of pulling the sword out of the stone, you know. And so that an artist, Sean Danconia, has put together this beautiful vision of giving the power back to the child and labeling the child rightfully President Eisenhower's able child. So your child can thrive and it be on an adventure in life versus being chemically constrained and chemically altered during your most important, valuable years. My son was 7 when it started. So they're brain damaging these children, and we're no longer going to allow it, you know? And so that's really kind of what we're aiming to do. It's the first of the kind exhibit. I shouldn't say that. In the 1960s, you could read about this woman in Rhode Island who got the governor to create a whole week of recognition for the gifted child. And so there's a history there.
Which governor were?
It was the Governor Schaefer out of the state of Rhode Island. He was a Republican back in the late 60s. And this woman basically went to him, and she was a homeschooler. She was taking these kids that were involved in clinical drug trials, this Ritalins and all that which Bradley Hospital was doing. She took these kids in and was educating them at her house. And then she went to the governor and said, these children are gifted. So he declared an entire month of October as the gifted child. So this woman, I found this woman. She's long since, I met her when she was 80. You know, God gave me the opportunity to meet her. And she wrote a book about the gifted that is very rare. I have a copy of it, and all her work is in it. You know, so she was the first Sheila Matthews, so to speak. You know, she was, I looked to her work. And I looked through it, and it was just amazing what God has revealed to me about these children. It's amazing.
public school system is horrible, horrible. And I feel badly for parents like my mom. My mom was a single mom. Like I said, once I was 10, trying to do the best that she could. She didn't have the money to send my brother and me to any kind of private school or a better school or Christian school. So we were in public schools. And thank God for that MGM program, because I do believe that rescued me in many ways. But now I know it's gone away. It's not there anymore. It has become just a clearinghouse for move them in and move them out and get the money from the government for every butt in the seat, whether they can actually read or do anything once they leave. We don't care. We did our best. Well, no, you didn't. You absolutely did not. And I hear people say when I bring up public education, well, there's basically some good teachers. No, not really. Not anymore. Many of them, or most of them, were fired during the whole COVID thing. If they refused to take the shot, they were let go. And it is now just a corrupt, communistic, socialistic system of education and indoctrination. And anybody who shows any kind of signs of being gifted, shut them up, shut them down, medicate them, and make them be compliant and complacent like everyone else, and get them out so we can get our money and get the next one in that seat. It has become a clearinghouse of crap. It's so bad. How do you get your kids out of that? Especially, like I said, single parents and so on who are already working so hard and can't afford to give their kid any kind of different education. There are resources and ways, aren't there?
Yeah, I do a lot of work with the homeschooling community. Like up in Connecticut right now, they're under attack by the state. The state is going after the homeschoolers, and basically
California too.
Oh, we found, I haven't even touched California. Don't get me. If I go there, what I've seen in Connecticut, this little girl by the name of Mimi, she was brutally killed by her mother, who was basically a product of the state, a product of DCF, Department of Children and Family Services. So they had the mother, they raised the mother. God only knows what drugs she was given. But then she had a baby. So this is generational, right? So now the state has custody of has the mother in sight and the child in sight. And so now the child goes missing for a year. Okay, the child is found in an abandoned home, Section 8 home, chopped up in pieces in a plastic container. Able Child wrote several articles on her. And so what the state wanted to do was blame the homeschoolers. Well, she went missing because the mother said that she was going to take her out to homeschool her. Well, that turned out to be not true. The state, basically the mother hired an actor to go before the state and pretend that she was the child. And it's just the incompetence of the state and that department is supposed to protect children were complicit in this child's death. Okay, so Able Child wrote several articles, and last week, there is good news. I do want to tell you that based on this child's death, the state has gone after guns, homeschoolers, and there's something else they were going after, vaccination, unvaccinated people. All three. They had over 6,000 parents come to the Capitol in Connecticut to testify. They had to shut it off. The parents and the public basically broke the state. They were running to their attorneys. How do we close this hearing down? And Able Child wrote an article about that. And the reason why I bring that up is that we are under attack by our state. And it's the people in the behavioral health and the mental health division that want this money, and they want our children labeled. And so that's why our exhibit in Georgia is really historic, because we're going in there with actual facts of you relabeled these children. These are President Eisenhower's children, and we found them. And we have the data and we have the receipts. So come at us, because we will show you how you converted this child that's gifted and you turned it into a disease so you could make money off of it. So I think there's good news, because people are awakening to this with all the mass shootings and all the drugs that they won't tell us what these children were on. Look, the fact is they've been drugging kids for over 30 years. And people like Steve Bannon, people like you, CharLee, that have this podcast that you're willing to put a parent like me on, that is calling out the government, is very courageous. You know, it really is, because people are losing their jobs. They're being shut down and being called dangerous, right? Dangerous. Able child is dangerous. Why? Why are we dangerous for trying to save children when the state is actually responsible for a lot of these children's deaths within the state system? So that's where I'm at. You know, this is going to be magnificent.
Where really is it at? When is it? You said Atlanta, Georgia. Tell us more.
Yeah, it's going to be at the Capitol, at the Georgia Capitol. And really, in order to get in there, we had to, volunteers had to secure a sponsor, you know, a lawmaker that would sponsor it. And so that was an interesting process. So it's going to be in the South, I believe the South End within the Capitol. And we're going to have information that we've gotten cleared to present to the public, which is this checklist of gifted, the checklist of the ADHD child. So you can start to unwrap your buried treasure. Able child has dug in the dirt, and we've pulled out a lot of disgusting things to get to the truth. And so what we want to do is show parents that the history of your child that's been labeled mentally ill, it's just not true. It's only one day. It's one of a kind, because it's really, we had legislation that we wanted passed and we didn't get that. So we have to educate the lawmakers. So lawmakers are still going to be in session. And it's from 8 a.m. to noon. And we're going to have a videographer. We're in touch with Georgia War Room. We're hoping they come out and cover it. And we're going to videotape it. We're going to try to go live. And this is hopefully the first of many capitals we can visit with our exhibit.
I wish I could be there to help you promote it. I sure wish I could.
Well, you're already doing me a big solid here. You know, I'm going to have to come. I'm going to have to start digging into DCF in California and the Department of Children and Family Services and their drugging numbers. I just have been. There's a new report that was released on all the different states of how many children are drugged in Medicaid. It's frightening. It's really, I mean, think about it. You had a single mom, and, you know, that breaks, you know, I have my own story, but, you know, imagine not having any parents and the state is your parent. And they're like, yeah, put that, oh, that child's only 7. Let's get him on Ritalin. Let's get him on Paxil. Let's get him on Adderall, you know, and yeah, let's go for it. And that's what's happening. And we have documents that are basically saying that children as young as a year old are on these drugs. I mean, how is that even possible? You know,
when I was talk about 1 year old, they put me on phenobarbital. I was a baby on phenobarbital. I don't know for how long, but what did that do to me? I'm pretty ADHD. I think I fit all the parameters there.
Pretty gifted. I'm going to stop you there, because you know what? This is the other thing. You watch television today and you see these shows and they're like, oh, I'm ADHD, or else they're like, oh, I'm Xanax. Oh, just pop a Xanax. I mean, they're actually saying it in the shows, you know, where they get by the marketing.
Normalize it.
Exactly. So when people say, oh, I'm ADHD, I'm like, oh my God, you're so gifted. Oh my God, you're gifted. You're one of my children. You're the treasure that I dug out of the earth, and I really want everybody to know. I mean, we have lost really generations, right? And so everybody I talk to tells me that either they have been diagnosed or one of their family, everybody has been affected by this. Every single human being, Democrat, Republican, black, white, of a foreign, domestic, because it's all over the world. But, here is where we have to make a difference in the United States of America. And we have the path with President Eisenhower's child, the able child, and I really believe that my documents would stand up in court against the drug companies and the psychiatric industry. I have the receipts. And so, I challenge them to tell me where I'm wrong. I've been doing this for 25 years. I believe it's the same child. I think they stole the child. They stole you. They've closed down these programs. They've stole our minds, and affected our souls, because these drugs, the side effects are depersonalization, there's suicide, increased risk of homicide. This is not good for the human soul. So, we have to start to fight back,
How many autistic kids are actually brilliant children?
So
and
many.
the autism itself, how much of that is a direct response of all the things that they're vaccinating into children as babies even now.
Well,
It's crazy.
They expanded that. It's the autism spectrum. Okay, so that means they can grab more children. If you see somebody who has physical abnormalities, which is autism, where you see that they diagnose themselves, but this spectrum has widened, and even President Trump and Secretary Kennedy had a press conference, and one of the mothers came up and she said, this is a problem, this spectrum, because it stretches out. It's so subjective. So it takes resources away from really profoundly challenged children that need, I'm telling you, they need actually somebody to change their diapers. And this is a lifetime commitment of a parent. Those are the parents that need the resources, not this expanding spectrum. It's really what we've done is really,
it's all about the shut them up and shut them down. Total goal of the New World Order, the one world government: comply and die. Basically, it's depopulation. That's part of the whole plan. I'm quite convinced of that now. We've seen it again and again and again. Where do you start? How do you fight against this? How do you help? How do you get involved, or even just start getting more educated about it? You go to ablechild.org. That's a good place to start. ablechild.org. This event in Georgia, I hope you have, even though it's only 4 hours, is all that you're allowed for just one day, half a day. But yeah. I hope you have a huge turnout of people showing up to check it out. I hope it's tremendously successful, and those lawmakers there start waking up and getting emboldened. I pray for that, that they actually start taking a stand and saying something. Because until they do, a lot of times we're just spinning our wheels, aren't we? But you've been there in the fight for over 2 decades. That's amazing. That makes you a superhero to me. So anything else you wanted to let us know about, or thoughts you wanted to leave with us?
Well, 2 thoughts. One is, it's been the greatest journey of my life. Imagine finding this buried treasure. So that to me is been beautiful for me in my life, and its purpose. So I never feel defeated. And I have my moments. And then the other thing people can do is go on the website, and I have a petition on the top, and I need 10,000 signatures. I'm halfway. I've met the halfway mark, and it's to get federal hearings on the link between psychiatric drugs and this mass violence. And so you could do that. You can donate. I'd rather people, if you're listening to me, I'd really like you to donate to this podcast, and honestly, I think it's really important. And I appreciate your time, and people can sign the petition. Money's great, but I have a lot of energy in me. So my Georgia trip, it's 4 hours, and I'm blessed to have that 4 hours because I'll make the most of it.
You're fantastic. Thank you so much, Sheila Matthews. Thanks for being on the show, my friend, again.
You too. God bless. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here and being there and doing what you do. That was nice of her to say, please contribute to me. I'd appreciate that. If you can, you see the website all around you. It's right behind me there. It's right there. Oh, I'm sorry. Right there. CharLeeSimons.com. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your support. But most importantly, share this show. Share it so others can see it and learn about it. You might know somebody who's gone through what I went through as a kid, or what perhaps you did. And you want to help get the information out there about ablechild.org. Share this show. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America bless God.